Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar today. We are excited to share some key updates from FabCon 2025. Ginger, FabCon 2025 was such a high energy event packed with announcements and forward looking innovations. A lot to take in, but a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, there are a lot of really cool announcements at the keynote. I mean, the keynote was really long. They even had to have an intermission because they had so many things that they wanted to bring out about, what has been happening in Fabric and then all of the new features. And there's so many that I know a lot of people miss some of them too.
Right. And yeah, well, that's what we are excited to bring today. We'll walk you through some of the most impactful updates from FabCon. And, those updates are already reshaping how organizations are using Microsoft Fabric. So from, AI, Copilot enhancements, and real-time data processing, and also platform modernization. So, we are very excited to bring that today. I'm Toral Goradia, Chief Operating Officer at Santor Technologies, a Microsoft Fabric featured partner specializing in data analytics and AI. We focus on empowering organizations by leveraging Microsoft Fabric and other advanced technologies to drive insights and innovation. Our team has successfully delivered several data and AI solutions across industries, and we specialize in helping companies migrate from data visualization tools like Click, Tableau, BI tools such as business objects and other on-prem and cloud databases to Microsoft Fabric and Power BI using our proprietary Migrate to Fabric solution. I am joined by Ginger Grant today, who is a Microsoft Data Platform MVP, a Microsoft certified trainer, and a recognized expert in data and AI. So to begin with, we would like to cover a few key updates, and then I'll hand it over to Ginger to talk about, the variable libraries, OneLake Security, and AI functions. So that is, going to be a deep dive on these topics today. So let's start with data agents. So data agents were formerly called AI skills. They are AI powered assistants. So with data agents in Microsoft Fabric, you can create conversational AI experiences, right? So that answers questions about your data. And your data could be residing in lakehouse, warehouse, Power BI semantic models, or even KQL databases. So you don't need to be an AI expert. You can just ask your questions in plain English and receive data-driven answers. Some of you may also remember that in our past webinar, we had explored AI skills in depth. Copilot and AI available for all SKUs. Big announcement. So, Copilot, so what this means is that Copilot and AI are now included in all SKUs of Fabric. So, with this update, customers on F2 SKUs and above can use Copilot and AI capabilities. So, features such as Fabric data agents to streamline workflows, generate insights, and drive impactful decisions. Ginger, this is a huge announcement. Would you like to add something to this?
Yeah, one of the great things about this is that having Copilot available in a number of SKUs can help you if you're doing like workload management. So if you want to make sure that dev doesn't encroach over production, but you still want Copilot functionality, this is going to allow you to do that. So you could have your still an F64, but you could segment it out. So you've got 32 for production and then 16 for dev and 16 for test. So having that flexibility is really going to help people better prioritize their Fabric workloads and ensuring that production has all the resources that it needs. And be able to use Copilot everywhere. It's great.
Absolutely. So this is great from a billing perspective for the, organizations as well, Ginger, right?
Yeah,
Wonderful.
absolutely.
Yep. Synapse Migration Assistant. So if you're currently on, Azure Synapse Analytics, Fabric now provides a native built user interface that helps organizations seamlessly migrate to Microsoft Fabric. User data functions. This is a great functionality for developers. So user data functions let you define and reuse logic right, inside your lakehouse or warehouse. So that pretty much streamlines your, streamlining your development and improving efficiency, right? The next one, Azure and Fabric events for real-time processing. So what this does is this transforms Fabric into an event-driven platform. So what that means is users can leverage real-time hub to discover and subscribe to Azure and Fabric events across OneLake, Fabric jobs, workspaces, and also Azure blob storage. Database mirroring enhancements. So Microsoft announced significant enhancements in Fabric's database mirroring capabilities. So now it also includes Azure Cosmos database, Azure SQL database, Azure SQL, PostgreSQL, where to mirror the data into OneLake, and you can unlock all the capabilities of Fabric Data Warehouse, Direct Lake Mode, notebooks, and much more. Ginger, this is super exciting as well as Microsoft is, coming out with more and more. So, any
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
This
Yeah.
this is fascinating because one of the things that they're working on is I know that everyone wants mirroring for on-prem, and that is in private preview now. They hope it, they said that they announced that they hope they have it in public preview. But because of the way that they have re-architected it, they're now in the process of pretty much opening up mirroring to just about any single data source. So I know that one of the things that they're with the way that they've re-engineered it, it makes access to like Oracle databases a reality. And I know that there are some organizations that are looking at how they're going to be mirroring a little later this year. And that includes not just SQL Server on-prem, but Oracle as well. And those are the biggest data sources that companies tend to have outside of the Azure and workspace.
Yeah, that's a great push on that, right, Ginger? So, yep. Wonderful. The next one is Workload Development Kit. This is purely for the developers. So there is a new workload development toolkit. It's a set of CLIs and SDKs that help you manage and deploy your Fabric workloads more efficiently. So, just a quick, breeze over what are the, key updates. But for the following, the variable libraries, OneLake Security, and AI functions, I'm going to hand it over to Ginger to deep dive on them. So, Ginger, over to you.
Great. Well, one of the things that Fabric has always kind of been, let's just say, chastised about is CI/CD. And variable libraries are one of the ways that Microsoft is looking to provide a better, change data capture environment. Now they're still in preview, but you can use them. You can use them now, and I'm going to show you how. And that allows you to manage parameters throughout your components. So if you have a parameter that you want in a pipeline or in a notebook, or you have data connections, and of course, you want to change that when you migrate from dev to test to prod. Prior to using variable libraries, there really wasn't a really good way of doing this, and nothing that was fully incorporated in dev pipelines like libraries are. And so it really allows for better migration of your whole workspace from a dev to a test to a prod. So really what this is doing is this is improving your change data capture by having parameters that you can set. So it's like, oh, what am I going to have for my workspace if it's in test or if it's in production? You set it and you forget it. And all of that is included inside of source control. So you define what those configurations are, and then you merely use them. And it really improves the pipeline and notebook experience quite a bit, having this library that you can access it. And it fully integrates with GitHub as well. So let's take a look at how actually to make that work. So what I want to do is I want to show you inside of Fabric how I can implement pipelines. Now, the first thing you have to look at is you need to look at your admin portal, because since it is a preview feature, you have to turn it on. And there's so many new things in here. I always do it by looking up VAR. So you need to make sure that you've set this up so that it is enabled like I have here. So I have it enabled for the entire organization. Do make sure if you do change it, you have to click apply. It does to tell you it's going to take 15 minutes. I've already done that. And it works in all workspaces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Fabric Workday workspace, and I am going to create a new pipeline and a new Fabric variable library. So hold on 1 second here. Get that to come up. Come on. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down to where I can go ahead and select so many options here now. My library. So I want to create a new library here, variable library. This is where you're going to see it. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And I got to give it a name. And this is going to be in this workspace. So I'm just going to call it var library because I'm creative like that. So that's all I need to create it. And now I need to add my variables. So I'm going to add a variable name here, and I'm going to call it one for the workspace because I want to have workspaces for dev, test, and prod, and those are going to need to change. So I'm going to need to do that. And so that's just going to be a text value, because actually to do this, I'm going to need to use a GUID to make that happen. So I'm going to add my default value here of my workspace that I want to use. Okay, then I'm going to add another one. So the next variable that I'm going to go ahead and add is I'm going to go ahead and add my variable for my source library. So my source lakehouse. And my source lakehouse is going to be a string. And I'm going to get the GUID from my lakehouse. And I'm going to add that and give that the default value as well. So I'm going to use that so that I've got that GUID for my lakehouse. So not the name, the GUID. So we'll show you what name it is later. Of course, I have a destination. I got a source. I have a destination. I'm moving data. So again, I need to get that GUID from my destination lakehouse, not its real name, and paste that in there as well. All right, so what other variables do I need to add in my pipeline process that I'm going to use? So of course, I want to have my source schema. I'm going to get data from a lakehouse. So that's just going to be a string. And for what I'm doing, my source schema is going to be called dim. And then I'm going to add my source table name that I am going to use. And my source table name is going to be, again, that string. And the source table name is going to be my employee table. And yes, this is case sensitive, so I need to make sure that I put it in lowercase. So I've got my employee. So I've got a number of variables here, but wait, I need more because I also need to have my destination. So I need my destination schema. That is, of course, a string. And I'm going to put it to the same schema. You don't necessarily have to, but that's what I'm doing here. And then I'm going to add another new variable for my destination table, because it does not have to be the same name, and it is string. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to call that emp, just so that we know that it is indeed different. All right, I'm kind of running out of room here. So, and this is my active set that I've got going on here, and that's going to be important. So I need to make sure that I save it. It does give me this message saying, if you change this, you're going to have issues. And it went ahead and changed these particular variables. So now I can use them inside of a pipeline, for example. So what I want to do is take a look at my table here. This is my source table. So I know that you didn't know that because it's not the name that I typed in the GUID. But to get the GUID, you go to the Libby endpoint, and then you can copy it after the word lakehouse is where the GUID lives, and that's where you can grab it. So that's where I got the value that I put into the variable. So I grabbed that from here. All right, so this is where I'm going to get data. I'm going to get data from this schema and then from this table. So what I'm going to do, go back to my workspace here, and this is my destination. I am going to put it into this dest schema. And again, this right now doesn't have a whole lot in it. So if we take a look at what we've got in here, I have my schema for DBO and DIM. As you can see, I've got some customer information in there. Don't have any employee data. So this is where it's going to go. So I've put in this GUID as well. So what I'm going to add now is I'm going to go ahead and add a data pipeline. And I'm going to use these parameters that I just created. And I'm going to call this PL var emp. And just give that a name. Now, this is when I first looked at this, I was kind of confused because this didn't make a whole lot of sense as to how this worked, but it does if you think about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a copy data because I'm going to copy it from one to another. And I'm going to need to add variable libraries here. You're like, but you just added them. All I'm going to do here is create local variables that are going to access the values in the library that is created. I'm going to call them the same name. I do have more than one pipeline. Let me make this bigger so I can see that better. Var library is the one I just added. And the variable name is workspace. So I can have variables in my variable libraries that I'm not using. I'm just putting them, calling them PL here for pipeline, just so that I know what they are and I'm not confused. They're the same. I could make them the same. Oops, that's not what I want. I want to get it from my source lakehouse. And I need to add these particular library variables inside of my pipeline so that I can make sure that everything is aliased out. And this is going to be helpful for when we go through and grab things when we're doing that from dev to test. So I'm going to go ahead and add all the variables that I need for my pipeline. So I've got my source table. And that, of course, is in my library. You can use more than one library too inside. So there's my source table. And then, of course, I need my destination information. And I need my destination lakehouse or destination schema first. We'll put that in there. And add my library. My reference there too. Whoops, that's schema. And then, of course, to the destination table. So these are this is everything that I'm going to use inside of my copy pipeline. So I have to put everything here. Now, one thing that I realized that I just forgot to add is I forgot to add my destination lakehouse. So that's not in here. But before I go off and fix that, let's give this a real name for my pipeline. So I'm going to call it copy employee. That is what I am doing. All right, so for my source, I know what my connection is. I'm going to use dynamic content. So what am I going to use? I'm going to use my library variables. And this is what I'm referencing. So the first thing that I'm going to need to reference is I'm going to need to reference my lakehouse. And when it adds a lakehouse, it's going to automatically give it the format that it wants here, and it puts in the workspace ID. I don't want the workspace ID. I want to make sure that I use my library variables for that. So I'm going to use my workspace library that I created. And then for tables, I need to get into that dynamic area there, which shows up when you click on it. So I'm just going to add the table first, add my dynamic content, and my dynamic content is going to come from my libraries. And there it is, my source table. It puts it in the format that it needs it. And of course, I do that with my schema. So everything here is parameter based. This makes it really easy to do that. So, all right, so I have that. Now I have my destination. And yeah, I don't have my lake house added. So we can see here, yeah, I forgot to add my destination lake house. So I have the source, but that's not going to help me out. So I'm going to go ahead and have to go back and fix that. So I'm going to go ahead and do what I can, though, do the rest of it here. So I'm going to go back to the bottom and add my destination lake house. And inside of my, oops, wrong one, our library. And destination lake house. There that is. So now that I have added it here, I can go back and fix my destination here and add that one. So click on my magical ellipse menu there, get my library variable, and now I've got my destination lake house. Should have made that LH, but oh well. And then, of course, it gives me my workspace, and I'm going to grab my workspace. And the workspace is the same I am using for both of them. It may not be in your world, but it is here. So for schema, I just did this so that I could get the, I want to make sure I get that dynamic thing down there. So I have to click on enter manually, and then it's easier, shows up because I've got something there to get rid of. So I'm going to click on the ellipse menu, and then I can add my destination schema. And of course, my destination table. So I've got everything defined as a library. And so I can now copy my information. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And once that is all complete, everything is all done here. What I can do is I can go ahead and run this. So there's everything is now set as a parameter using my variable libraries. So I'm just going to go ahead and run this. And of course, if you do something like accidentally add a new line character or something, you may find that you have an error. I will say that that happened to me, and the error messages are not very clear. Not happy about them not telling me the dumb things I did, but hey, you eventually figured out that you defined something incorrectly and went ahead, and it is now done. So it ran my pipeline. So what that means is it put the information into my destination area. So if I refresh this, I can see that now I have a table called emp, and I can load that, and we can see that I was successfully able to load this from my other database. This wasn't there. So this is great. I finished up dev. So naturally what I want to do, because I want to make sure that I'm doing everything in terms of source control, I've got 2 new items there. So I'm going to go ahead and check these in. And I'm going to put a commit message, and I've added new pipeline parameters and pipeline and variables. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. And I've got my var library and my new pipeline here. I'm going to go ahead and commit these. Now I've got everything committed and saved inside of the workspace that I'm going to use for dev. So let's take a look now, though, at a deployment pipeline, because this is where you really need this. This is where this really shines. So naturally, I'm done with this particular workspace, but I want to deploy it to test. And if we compare, the difference I have between dev and test is actually the 2 things that I just added. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to deploy my new changes so that they are in test. And then, of course, in test, I have different values that I want to use in test that are not in development. Now, this default value set is what it's going to be used inside of whatever workspace that you're in. But I need another value set. And that value set that I need is for test. So this is where I'm going to put in my test values. Some of them are going to be the same. Some of them are going to be different. It's a different workspace. So I need to make sure that I put in a different workspace value there. I'm also going to need a different definition for my source lakehouse and my destination lakehouse. So I need to go grab those from my here. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Nothing counts as you save. I have to go get those because I don't have the GUIDs. It's not the name, it's the GUIDs. So I need to change to my other workspace, my Workday test, and then go ahead and then grab my GUIDs that I can, so I can have those in my environment. So I'm going to go ahead and get my Livy endpoint and grab those the lakehouse GUID value out of there. And I'm going to do the same thing for my destination as well. So I have to do that for this. Who knows what the names of these GUIDs are? I mean, nobody remembers that nonsense. So I'm going to grab everything after Lakehouse from here. So I have those two grids. And then now that I want to make sure that I have those, so when I migrate them over the var library over, I've got all of the values, so my new pipeline will run. And once I've done this, I'm good to go. Everything will work just fine. I just need to make sure that I put them in my var library. So I've got the new ones, got the workspace that I changed already, but I forgot that I did it. So just do that one again. And then I've got my lake house, my two lake houses, the source and destinations. Need to make sure that I paste those new values in there, um, so that I've got the new ones that's for my test, which is of course different from dev. And you see that they're not the same. The workspace is not the same. Neither is a source lake house and there's a destination. Let me paste that in there. But my schema and the tables, those are all the same. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. So now I have a default test, which is active, and I have test. Go back to my pipeline here, and it's going to say that I've got two that are different because I didn't deploy the differences. But I changed the other one. I will need to check that back into source control. But I've got that new elements that I've added there. So I'm going to go ahead and deploy this. And once I've deployed it to test, all I need to do is I need to add, make the information inside of my var library. I need to make that active. And if once I make it active, then those will be the variables that are used in test, different than dev. And I'll make them active, boom, I'm good to go. So it's going to head and copy the contents of this new stuff to my workspace. And then I'm going to go to my workspace, to my new test workspace that I have here, and go back here, go to my var library that is now there, and I need to make this active. So this is going to be setting this active. So inside of test, test is active with the different values. So now what I can do is I can run everything and it'll work. So that's what was totally missing from the last time that I was doing dev pipelines. Otherwise, you'd have to like redo all of your connections. Wasn't a really good way of doing it. Now I can make sure that this is like an automated thing. All I have to do is set this to be active. So I'm going to go inside of my pipeline, because of course that got copied over. And if we look at what we have here, if we look at my library variables, all my library variables are automatically set. I'm going to use the new values. So I can go ahead, everything's good. Don't have to do anything. And then I can just run it. So, and just to show you that I don't have anything over here, I'm going to go ahead and look at my destination lakehouse. And we see that I've got dim, but I don't have any data in here. Oh, by the way, when you do migrate, it does not migrate your data. That's a separate task. So I don't have any data until I run jobs that are going to move that over. So I'm going to move my copy employee information over by running this pipeline. So I'm going to go ahead and run it. And it's running. So it's going to take the data from in my test database and move that over. Doesn't take that long. It's not huge. But this is really going to make migration so much easier because this is handled. So I've got everything that I need to do this. So now I can go ahead and look at my lake house inside of my test workspace, refresh this because I move faster than it does. And we can see that I have my new table that has been added and I am in test, not my dev environment. So I was able to run this over with, run this inside of my test environment. And I didn't need to do any additional effort on my part, just make sure that I have that as set as active and it's done. Taking a little bit while to load. And that's pretty much it, but it really does improve the experience from a developer and CI/CD perspective to making it easier to migrate using everything inside of Fabric. And that's what you need to do to make all of that work. So that is going to be a really big improvement. Developers are really excited about this functionality. All right. So one thing that also that I wanted to talk about that was released inside at FabCon was OneLake Security. Now, unfortunately, this is still in preview and is not available in the UI yet. It's coming very soon, and there is an option to request it early. I have requested it. I hope to get it very, very soon, but I do not have it yet. With OneLake Security, and when they demoed this, it was really, really cool. You can define the security in one place. And when you do that through the UI, if I have added security, maybe in my employee lakehouse, I don't want people to see anything other than the names. I can add a rule that'll apply that, and that UI is going to help you do that. And you're going to just need to add some members, and it will either do role level and or object level. And initially, it's going to be implemented at the lakehouse and at the warehouse. So this is what is in private preview. But first off, what you're going to have to do is you have to add your data access roles, and that exists now. So you're going to create a role to assign the rights, and then you can start adding the people and the permissions. So here's the screen that you would do that in. So here I've got a list of, in my role, I've got tables, and I can do row level and column security. You can accomplish this now, not with the UI, but you can do it through SQL statements in either the lakehouse or the warehouse. This functionality is available to you, just not the UI. Okay, so the last thing that I did want to talk about are AI functions. And AI functions are really, really cool because they provide the ability to add generative AI functionalities using notebooks. And with the notebooks, what you can do is make sure that you've got, all you have to do is just add the libraries. And that's another thing that was completely assisted in or modified as part of FabCon. Used to be when you loaded any kind of Copilot to a notebook, it was this whole huge long thing and it took forever. That's gone. So all you need to do is add the libraries, which is what you can do with the AI functions. And you can incorporate different functions for AI code. So you can summarize text, you can find intent, you can extract entities, all the kinds of things that you're used to doing inside of a generative AI tool. And it does use ChatGPT 3.5 to do this. So you can perform that inside of your notebooks now and enhance your data engineering and or data science experience by adding this functionality. So one of the things that I learned, based after going to FabCon, is that there's so many things that Microsoft has worked on improving Fabric. One of the things that I did when I was at FabCon is I did a day-long session, and somebody asked me, "Well, how do you know if Microsoft is, really interested in improving the feature and functionality of a product?" And I said, "Well, you have to look at how many people they've got working on it. There's a whole entire building full of people that are working on Fabric, plus people in other countries doing it as well, which is why they're continuing to add a lot of upgrades." I encourage everyone to look at the roadmap for things that we just couldn't talk about because, we could spend the day on it. I mean, they spent 2 hours just talking about all the new things that are available. And there's so many changes that it's really difficult to keep up, which is why it's easier to just hire people like me who spend a lot of time doing that to get the most out of what is being added to Fabric. And these improvements that they're adding are really improving the functionalities, the features, and the reason to adopt Fabric as part of your data estate, because it's continuing to offer more and more elements and being that one place that you can store, access, and use your data using one set of tools that just make it easier for people to access and gain a lot of insight from the data that is being collected inside of organizations. So with that,
Yeah.
Toral.
Yep. So, Ginger, thank you for these insights. And, you said it out right. There are things changing so fast. It's, tough to keep up with, Microsoft's innovations. But that is where, Santor is looking forward to bringing these innovations to our customers as they continue on their data and AI journey. So, we are here to help. Ginger, I'm not seeing any questions that have come through, but I have a few questions. Just going back to the variable library, right, with variables, are there any restrictions that we need to keep in mind?
Well, it is still a preview feature, but but you can use it. It is fully available, unlike OneLake Security. You can use it right now. All you need to do is make sure that you have taken that step to turn it on inside of admin, because if that's not on, then you won't have the ability to access that feature. But that's the only restriction. And I haven't seen any significant issues with it. So I would definitely, explore it in preview because I'm sure it'll be something that'll be coming to GA relatively soon. It seems to be very complete.
Right, good idea. And Ginger, we talked about, Synapse data warehouse. In your, experience, could you share your thoughts as to why a customer would want to upgrade from a Synapse data warehouse to a Fabric data warehouse?
It's funny. I did a session on this at FabCon in 2024, where there was like a coding method for people to doing that because people really want to get out of the pricing model that is inside of Synapse, where the warehouse every minute that is on, you get charged no matter if somebody is using it or not. And the other thing too is that Microsoft spent a lot of effort and energy on doing some performance improvements to the warehouse that is in Fabric. It's not the same as the one that is in Synapse. It is technologically, much different. And in addition to being cheaper, since you're not paying for every minute, it is much better performing. And you can put as much data as you feel comfortable, putting up there. I think the largest that I know of that Microsoft said that they've got up there is if somebody's got a petabyte. So, load away and
Wow. Yep.
access it for one price.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. Ginger, in terms of, we talked about the SKUs, the AI capabilities now available in all SKUs. So if you don't have a F64 SKU and you incorporate AI, is it still the same version or a different version? What I'm trying to ask is it like a lighter version or is it a scaled down version or is it the same?
The same. So one of the things that's nice, it's not like you're getting like the junior version if you're not buying F64. That's not it at all. Your limitations are only your capacity limitations you have in all things Fabric, but all of the features and capabilities that are available in the higher SKUs are available as features in an F2 if you want to use it in there. Maybe a little bit slower and you may run out of capacity, but every feature is available to you. You don't have to have an F64 to have all the features.
Great, great. That's great to know. Ginger, so we have a question here. How about MS Purview integration? Will this also be a part of OneLake Security?
Microsoft has incorporated Purview inside of Fabric already. OneLake Security is specific to um, data access for items stored in OneLake. You can add additional rules inside of Purview as well, and it has to do with the kinds of rules that you choose to incorporate. So, what you can use Purview for is for perhaps identifying PII data, and then use OneLake to then create a rule that is going to limit access to that to all but specific user groups. So it is incorporated somewhat now, but it's basically you still would need to write rules for it. It's not going to auto write them for you. Hopefully that answers your question. Great question though.
Wonderful. Um, Okay, Ginger, we have some time here. I would like to ask you, I know you mentioned that you had conducted a pre-con session as well as, a few sessions at the conference itself. Are there anything that you would like to share, any insights that you heard consistently from the attendees in terms of, the Microsoft roadmap?
Yeah, well, one of the things that people are surprised about is just the depth and breadth of things being offered. I mean, I did a session on SQL DB inside of Fabric with my friend Warwick Rudd from Brisbane, Australia, and it's the kinds of things that you can do inside of Fabric just continually seem to be changing and adding. I mean, it's looking like now the whole data estate is inside of Fabric, and not only that, but tools like SQL databases, which people are like, I know about that already, trying to make it easier for people to use. A lot of incorporating co-pilots, not just in front so that you can have it write your code for you, although that experience is on the roadmap too, but also looking at how you can make things like database development easier to maintain and manage. So that's just something that people are really happy about, the fact that Microsoft is spending resources on, in addition to all the things that you get with Fabric, as well as there's a whole bunch of stuff that is coming to Power BI. Just because Microsoft kind of took it over and put everything in Fabric, there's a lot of really neat functionality that I heard about at FabCon, specifically for the Power BI experience. And one of the things about that is Copilot's capabilities inside of that are becoming amazing, so that maybe there's going to be less people writing reports in the future because Copilot may be doing more of that. But my friends over at Power BI Tips have created their own a workload that Microsoft released. Is one of the things that people can do now to help people do things like all the development inside of the Azure cloud. Everything from creating templates to then, releasing reports. And you no longer need the desktop for that, which is just kind of, Microsoft has finally been able to eliminate the Power BI desktop as part of the releases that they announced at FabCon. So you don't need to use desktop anymore. Not really.
Yeah, absolutely. Very exciting, Ginger. And thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing your insights today. I've been getting, comments regarding how, insightful this session has been. So, as we wrap up this session, I would like to take a moment to thank all of our attendees who have, attended this session today for your participation. We've covered some of the most exciting updates from FabCon 2025. And Ginger, thank you once again. If you have any questions or would like to explore how we can support you on your data journey further, please feel free to reach out to me at tgoradia@santortech.com. Thank you once again for your time and participation. Have a great day, and we look forward to connecting with you soon. Thank you all.